Good afternoon. This is now week 12 of Social Work 636, and we're coming to the end of the semester. So first, let me say, if you are behind in any of your assignments, please make plans as quickly as possible to submit those assignments, again, because we are coming to the end of the semester. So we are in week 12, and the overview from week 12 says the following. Week 12 examines program leadership. We will address the purposes and value of leadership, as well as the special importance of leadership styles. Characteristics of good managers and leaders are examined. The learning objectives are to articulate the task of leadership, to articulate the importance of leadership, and to examine and describe different leadership styles. So let's now move to a summary of the learning activities. So there are 4 chapters in the text to read, a couple of which I believe you have read before. Chapter 1, Leading the Organization. Chapter 5, Managing Employees. Chapter 18, Ethical Dilemmas in Management. And Chapter 19, Humanizing the Organization. There are a number of supplemental readings as well, and we will come back to the leadership slides and a PowerPoint in just a few minutes. Let's now look at the assignment for this week. So the assignment for this week is to complete at least one of the provider leadership style competency inventories. So you can either complete the leadership legacy assessment, identifying your instinctive leadership, or mental muscle diagram indicator personality test. And one paragraph, write a summary of your results, and then write a second paragraph commenting on whether the results were consistent with how you see yourself. So in this one, you are responding to at least 2 of your classmates, which is different than usual for discussion posts. Compare your results with theirs. How are the results different or similar? And your initial post is due Thursday, and your follow-up is due Sunday. So let's now go over the slides that were provided for this week. So leadership versus management. In a nutshell, the difference between leadership and management is that leadership is setting a new direction or vision for a group that they follow. A leader is the spearhead for that new direction. Management controls or directs people, resources in a group according to principles or values that have already been established. Leadership is a function of knowing yourself, having a vision that is well communicated, building trust among colleagues, and taking effective action to realize your own leadership potential. What makes a great leader? Some leadership theory. Some of the early theories, one is called the great man theories. Leaders are exceptional people born with innate qualities destined to lead. The term man was intentional because the leaders were considered primarily male, military, and Western. There are trait theories. Research on traits or qualities associated with leadership are numerous. Traits are hard to measure. For example, how do we measure honesty or integrity? So what are some of the traits and skills attached to leadership? Traits: adaptable to situations, alert to the social environment, ambitious and achievement-oriented, assertive, cooperative, decisive, dependable, dominant, meaning a desire to influence others, energetic, persistent, self-confident, tolerant of stress, and willing to assume responsibility. Some of the skills include being clever, conceptually skilled, creative, diplomatic and tactful, fluent in speaking, knowledgeable about group tasks, organized, persuasive, and socially skilled. Leaders will also use integrity, honesty, compassion, and humility. So leadership theories, continued functional theories. and John Adair is noted here. A leader is concerned with the interaction of three areas: task, goal setting, methods and process; team, effective interaction, communication, clarifying roles and team morale; and individual, attention to behavior, feelings, coaching, and CPD. The behaviorist theorists, including Blake and Moulton, talk about leaders' behavior and actions rather than their traits and skills. Different leadership behaviors characterized as leadership styles could be the autocratic, the persuasive, the consultative, the democratic. The behaviorist theorists conclude that it doesn't provide a guide to effective leadership in different situations. Another group of leadership theories are situational contingent leadership. Leadership style changes according to the situation and in response to the individuals being managed, their competency and motivation. New leadership theories are transformational. Bass and Volio in 94. Leaders inspire individuals. They develop trust and encourage creativity and personal growth. Individuals develop a sense of purpose to benefit the group, organization, or society. This goes beyond their own self-interest and an exchange of rewards or recognition for effort or loyalty. Some leadership philosophies, especially around ethical leadership, including sustainability, equality, humanitarianism, and the 4 P's of purpose, people, planet, and probity. Some key team leader responsibilities are to guide and coordinate team members, to provide structure for the team, to clarify working methods, and to focus on performance. So what is responsibility versus accountability, and what does having authority mean? Accountability is the state of being accountable, liable, or answerable. Responsibility can be delegated, but accountability cannot. A good leader accepts ultimate responsibility, will give credit to others when delegated responsibilities succeed, and will accept blame when delegated responsibilities fail. Accountability cannot operate fairly without the leader being given full authority for the responsibilities concerned. Authority, as we've discussed before, is the power to influence or command thought, opinion, or behavior. Cross-functional team has less authority and is more difficult to manage. Team leader authority will vary from role to role depending on the scope of duties and the structure of the organization. A team leader may refer to line management or other authorities for the following: HR, the Human Relations Department, might have the responsibility of staff recruitment and training, performance and discipline, policies and procedures in health and safety, budget and resources, organizational objectives, managing change, and line management. How to improve your leadership skills. Reflect and identify the skills you need to lead. Ask for feedback from work colleagues. Practice. Take on responsibility. Find a mentor. Attend further leadership and management training. And use resources as noted here. So let's look at some additional discussion of leadership based on some additional thoughts that I have put together and a few from the text. So the previous slides mentioned transformational leaders, and I think it's good to repeat. They display high levels of competency and trustworthiness. They inspire and motivate members with their vision. They stimulate independent and creative thinking. They understand personal needs and goals of people they supervise. They are charismatic and they are empowering. Let's talk about attuned leaders. They are aware and responsive. They have empathy. They understand others. They develop others. They demonstrate active listening, which means putting their own agenda aside and being generally curious and can reflect back what they hear. They make others feel they are the center of attention. They view the world from a positive perspective. The glass is always half full. They cultivate the insights that diversity brings. They are creative and they generate positive energy. There are also the democratic leaders that give individuals under their supervision a voice. There are also a number of leadership styles that are negative. So you don't want to be the authoritative leader, or you don't want to be the micromanager leader. What are some leadership qualities? Leaders do not always do things right because we're not perfect, but rather they do the right things. Leaders are proactive versus always reacting to things. Leaders are visionaries. They see where things need to go and push to get them there. And leaders know that everyone has something to contribute. What are some additional qualities? Leaders see qualities in others that they themselves do not see and help them reach higher. Leaders have high expectations because nobody rises to low expectations. Leaders push for change. They are risk takers and they are persistent. Leaders also think systematically. Again, as previously mentioned, they take self-responsibility. They don't throw others under the bus. They have an integrated self-concept. They understand strengths and weaknesses. They're able to differentiate, able to stand apart, make choices, seek questions and dialogue. They can turn conflict into relationship building, and they create an atmosphere of safety and good process. So if you want to be a good leader, study to show thyself approved. Study your organization, set a positive example, be a team player. Doesn't mean that you don't speak out when things are wrong, but it does mean that you have the best interest of the team at heart. And you may not agree with this, but if you want to be a leader in the organization, if you want to be promoted in an organization, then you're going to have to be better than, not just as good as everyone else. This has been mentioned several times, but personal qualities of someone that is a leader should be that they are honest, that they have integrity, and that they are deemed to be trustworthy. So what are some ethical dilemmas that get faced? Well, administrative discretion, corruption would definitely be an ethical dilemma. Nepotism, which just means showing favoritism, pressuring others to conform versus the freedom to provide feedback and speak their mind honestly. Administrative secrecy, information leaks can lead to ethical dilemmas in leadership. Public accountability, especially not being accountable to the public. Policy conundrums, pressure group influence, and public scrutiny sometimes can make leaders turn inward and not be as open and honest as they should be. Our code of ethics is very clear around leadership and how we should function in working in human service organizations. The social worker's primary goal is to help people in need and to address social problems. So we have to keep in mind that the clients come first. Social workers challenge social injustice. So again, You can be a team player, but you can also speak out when you feel your organization needs to better address issues of social injustice. Social workers respect the inherent dignity and worth of the person. Social workers recognize the central importance of human relationship. Social workers behave in a trustworthy manner. I think the trust issue has come up several times in the slides. And social workers practice within their areas of competence and develop and enhance their personal expertise, which means we are in a continuous state of learning. Organizational culture. Leaders are the ones that create the organizational culture, so often culture will not change unless the leader changes. So, is the operating style, traditions, rituals, beliefs, and fundamental values of the organization. It influences the way staff think and behave. It is the system of values that a service organization has invented, discovered, or developed over time while learning to cope with its problems of external adaptation and internal integration. And in a nutshell, it's the way things are done in the organization. So if you want someone to describe an organizational culture, often you have to talk to new people in the organization because people who have been there for a long time can't even tell you anything about the culture. It is just the way it is. But new people are sometimes able to recognize the uniqueness about an organization. An organizational culture hopefully fosters job ownership, fulfills the calling for a higher purpose. Most people get into human services to do something more than just do a job. They want to make a difference. Hopefully, the organizational culture allows for emotional bonding, fosters trust, there it is again, encourages employees to take pride in their work, and finds mechanisms to identify and handle work stress. So the question is, what kind of leader will you be? Because as a social worker who will have an MSW, even if you don't see yourself as a leader, the world will. So what kind of leader are you going to be? And references for this PowerPoint not only come from the text, but come from Daniel Goleman, who's done a lot of work on social intelligence. So with that, you have the assignment for this week, you have the readings, you have overview information and PowerPoints. So I look forward to reading your assignments and hope that you have a wonderful week. Please get to me as soon as possible if you have any questions.